Part 97. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 965. The returning fighting lady, York City, is reporting to you. Haha, actually I am still the York City you are familiar with, but for me to come back with a brand new attitude like this, I am truly worthy of being a commander. Ha ha ha. Looking at the gentle beauty smiling in front of him, Qin Ji couldn't help but exclaimed, I thought you would become a super rare ship girl like Bumblebee, but I didn't expect you to become a legend of the sea. It's really amazing. I'm also surprised. I didn't expect that I would become like this, but it's all because of Commander York City smiled and said. Because of me, Qin Ji was stunned for a moment. Yes, because of the commander's insistence on ship modification, because of the commander's encouragement to me, and because the commander and my soul are connected, he will guide me to move forward. York Cheng smiled. Qin Ji touched his nose and said, well, if you say that, I would be proud. But this result is the best. Maybe soon, we can continue to follow this kind of technological transformation, whether it is for Lexington or whether it's Saratoga, they all have the potential to transform, and I believe our port area will become stronger and stronger. Yeah, several people nodded together. Haha, speaking of which, what kind of power does York City have now? Qin Ji asked. York City smiled, then stretched out her hands, and a faint blue flower began to slowly flash in her hands. As the flower slowly rotated, the blue petals fell gently, looks very elegant. But the few people present, except Qin Ji, were all ships, and they could clearly feel the power contained in the rotating flower. Although it looks very beautiful, if it is ignored, it will cause great harm. Does it feel similar to Shinano's blue butterfly? Qin Ji said looking at the flower. Yes, it is similar to Miss Shinano's power. This is the manifestation of the core power of the mind. However, because the attributes of the power are different, the state of manifestation is also different. York City explained. Well, it seems that it can be developed properly, Qin Ji said with a smile. This is natural. Now that you have such a powerful force, you should really train it well. Only after you master this power can you better help the commander. York City nodded. Ha, yes. So that's the end of the ship modification. You can try to master this power next, and strive to turn this power into something you can handle before the final battle begins, Qin Ji said. Yes, Commander. Watching the people from York City leaving together, Helena came to Qin Ji's side. Commander, where is Miss Bismarck? Qin Ji looked at Bismarck and smiled, it's not her time yet. Aurora on the side was surprised, can the Bismarck also carry out ship modification? Yes, but Miss Bismarck's ship modification is different from Miss York City's and others. It involves meta power. This kind of ship modification is not recorded in the mind cube. Helena paused and said, this is a possibility that Helena of Ember mentioned, and it is a possibility that can only be seen in Miss Bismarck. So wouldn't such a transformation be very risky? The ship's outfit affects the combat effectiveness and status of the ship girl. If there is a problem with the ship's outfit, the consequences will be unimaginable, Aurora said. So such a transformation requires a lot of preparation, and it also requires a firm will. At present, the only one in our port area that can possibly implement it is Miss Bismarck. If she succeeds, then maybe she will provide a new idea for our port area in the future. Helena said. Then let's go ahead and transform others. You must know that we still have 2 legendary level ship girls on the sea waiting to be transformed, Qin Ji said with a smile. After a while, several people stood there at the place where Warspite and others had carried out the transformation. Santiago, this is your modification prop. Looking at the expectant Santiago, Qin Ji smiled and handed the microphone modification prop to her. Hey, a microphone, Santiago was surprised. She didn't expect that her transformation prop would be this. Yes, The modified props are a concrete manifestation of the core of the modified ship girl's mind. You usually love singing and expressing yourself. Maybe this microphone is the most suitable for you, Shin-Ji said with a smile. Really? Thank you, Commander, Santiago said quickly. Then come on, Shin-Ji smiled. Santiago took over the microphone and the modification props, tried his voice excitedly, and then ran to a place far away from everyone amidst everyone's laughter and started the modification. As Santiago closed her eyes, the golden microphone in her hand began to shine with dazzling light, and a powerful breath emerged from her body. The huge air waves blew the clothes of the people standing in the distance. The transformation of the sea legend is indeed very impressive. You can feel such a strong aura from such a distance. Aurora couldn't help but admire. Ship modification is a huge improvement, and the transformation from ultra-rare to maritime legend is a process of qualitative change. In this process, the full potential of one's body will be unleashed, which is why the power is so great, Shin-Ji explained. Road. Hey, why does Commander know so clearly? Aurora asked in confusion. Oh, Helena told me. Shin-Ji touched his nose and smiled. So this is what it looks like, Aurora suddenly realized. It's starting, keep an eye out. Shin-Ji pointed at the phantom of the ship that appeared around Santiago and said quickly. This situation is exactly the same as the previous war-weary transformation. A battleship is traveling on the sea, fighting, riding the wind and waves. Although it is surrounded by fighter plane attacks, it is still marching firmly in the ocean. USS San Diego, Aurora couldn't help but said silently, is this what San Diego's prototype ship looks like? Yes, this is the Santiago that existed in history, Shin-Ji said, looking at the image in front of him and Santiago's appearance. It's full of epic feeling. It's indeed a transformation from ultra-rare to maritime legend, Bismarck also nodded. As he spoke, the images around Santiago were constantly changing, as if telling Santiago's extraordinary experience. White Eagle has the Medal of Honor second only to the Enterprise in the entire White Eagle. How could such a ship be so simple? Several people present were in admiration and shock at this scene. This is a legendary image, telling people what a true maritime legend is. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 966. The renovation of Santiago and Yuli went very smoothly. When the two soaring brilliants appeared over the port area, they not only attracted the attention of the entire port area, but also the attention of the nearby public port area. They were a little speechless when they were together. After all, for a camp, the appearance of a super rare girl is something worth celebrating. But what did they witness today? In just one afternoon, 3 colorful rays of light rose into the sky, plus the previous war-weary ones. In just such a short week, Shin-Ji's port area has already added 4 legendary ship girls at sea. These are not 4 rares, but 4 sea legends. Although I was a little numb to Shin-Ji's luck before, but now that I think about it, it is still too outrageous. Against the odds, high-level officials from several camps had to prepare to pay a visit. So just when Shin-Ji was about to take Bismarck and Shinano to find Eugene and others, news came that they were visiting. Haha, the public port area is relatively close to the port area. It must have been the 3 rays of light from the sky that caught their attention today, Bismarck said with a smile. It is true that today is too conspicuous. Even if several sea legends were summoned in one day, it did not cause much shock because there were no other people around. Sure enough, they attracted attention this time, but they definitely didn't have any malicious intentions. At most, they just wanted to ask. After all, our port area has stronger power, which means that the outcome of this battle is more certain, right? Shin-Ji said. That's what the commander said. How about finishing the matter here and then going to Ember's place? Anyway, I can't rush this matter, Bismarck said. Okay, Shin-Ji nodded. Several people quickly arrived at the reception room in the port area. Looking at the people with different expressions, Qin Ji couldn't help but smile. Commander Qin Ji is very happy today. He looked at the smiling Qin Ji and couldn't help but said, "But you must also know what we mean by coming, right? Including the past, it has been less than a week until now. There are 4 more maritime legends in your port area. I wonder if you can introduce them to us." "Oh, actually these 4 are no strangers to you, because I haven't summoned new ship girls recently. They have all been transformed and become legends on the sea," Qin Ji explained. "Huh? Transformation? Can ultra-rare ship girls still be transformed?" Soviet Rosia was surprised. "Other ship girls can be transformed, and ultra-rare ship girls can naturally be transformed as well," Qin Ji said with certainty. "Of course, unlike ordinary ship girls, the transformation of ultra-rare ship girls requires exclusive transformation props." Exclusive transformation props? Ninghai was stunned for a moment. "I remembered that when Commander Qin Ji came to Donghuang before, he looked for transformation props about Anshan and Changchun, so you are referring to that kind of transformation props." "Part of it is based on that, but more of it comes from some data we collected in the sea area and some other intelligence. It took nearly 2 years of research to create the corresponding transformation props." Qin Ji said. "Is it enough to study for more than 2 years? Xianghe was speechless. "From your tone, more than 2 years seems to be a long time. Do you know how long our camp has been studying for? At least it has been more than a few decades, but there is very little progress now. So many transformation props have been made in 1 or 2 years, it is really fast, isn't it?" Maybe the information we have is fundamentally different." Qin Ji touched his nose, "but if you want me to share the information with you, it's not impossible, but now the information has basically been lost. It's working. You also know that it is basically difficult for a legendary level ship girl to appear in this world. Now that one has appeared, it has reached the upper limit of the world's allowed capacity. Just like my ship girl was converted into a ship before, this change is the only one. Even if I want to help you, I can't do anything. We all understand this, and we are not here to ask for relevant information this time. We just want to confirm this information. After all, we are allies now. Your port area has become stronger, which will be of great help to our entire operation." Soviet Rosia smiled. "By the way, which ship girls are being transformed this time?" Ruhi asked. "The Royal War Weariness, the Cherry Blossoms in the Evening, the White Eagle in York City and Santiago," Qin Ji said. "Them," Ruhi couldn't help but nodded. "As expected, they are all familiar faces. I want to know whether these transformation candidates were selected by Commander Qin Ji himself, or are they limited to them after research? Of course I didn't choose it. It would be great if a transformation like this could be quantified," Qin Ji said helplessly. "A transformation like this is basically done after the Rubik's Cube is matched and the corresponding information is recorded. Implement the renovation plan. So that's how it is." "It makes sense," Ninghai nodded. "So, we've finished asking questions about transformation. In addition, we still have a few questions to ask Commander Qin Ji," Ruhi asked. "If you have any questions, just ask them directly. If I can tell you, I won't hide anything," Qin Ji said with a smile. "Regarding the subsequent battles, when does Commander Qin Ji want to wait until he launches the final attack on the Pacific Ocean?" Ruhi asked, "because although we have sent some support, if it comes to the final decisive battle, then we will fight with all our strength. The forces of our various camps must also provide more support. After all, this battle will determine the future direction of the world. Not only your port area is struggling, but all major camps, including us, must also contribute their efforts to this battle." Qin Ji's expression became serious. "Although I have informed you before, I did not specify the exact time. In fact, there are some things in it that I can't say for sure now. I will tell you more in a short time to increase the power of my fleet. And I also hope to use this period of time to prepare everyone for the war. However, I believe that this period of time will not be too long. After all, if you want to conquer the entire Pacific Ocean in one go, you cannot rest for too long. Therefore, if you want to dispatch support, it is best to start during this period. Is this what it is like? Then we understand. In the next period of time, we will coordinate the affairs of the camp and send more support here. Ning Hai nodded. Yeah, we will too. Same. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 967. When the top leaders of the three camps were sent away, it was already dark. Qin Ji simply asked Belfast to bring food and went to Ember's place with them. The food that Ember eats there is provided by the Minato cafeteria. Sometimes they send people to get it themselves, but since Minato sent out a batch of Ember, it has been switched to the restaurant to deliver it directly to them. Qin Ji also learned that the restaurant had just delivered the food not long ago, so he asked Belfast to bring food. It was just right to go over and talk about things while eating. Sure enough, when Qin Ji and others arrived at Ember Tower, they found them in the restaurant. Commander is here, have you eaten? Helena stood up with a smile. She seemed not to be surprised at all by Qin Ji's arrival. Not yet, but in order not to disturb you, I brought it here myself. Qin Ji pointed to Belfast behind him with a smile. It's not really an intrusion. It's not that we don't want to integrate into the port area, it's just. Fei Long sighed helplessly. Every time we go to the cafeteria to eat, it may be because of our own aura, and if we don't pay attention, it makes some little ones like destroyers and submarines cry, so now I can only eat here to maintain peace and quiet. Qin Ji laughed and said, I know about this. Ning Hai, who was in charge of the canteen at the time, thought you were angry because the destroyers were crying, so he wrote a report to me. I only found out everything after asking Helena specifically. But this is just a temporary measure. You will still have to have more contact with everyone in the port area in the future. After cultivating relationships in this way, everything will be convenient. I understand. Fei Long nodded. While chatting and laughing, a few people sat down, and Belfast also thoughtfully took out food for Qin Ji and Bismarck and laid out the food. Commander, the reason for coming here this time is Bismarck, right? Sheng Sheng glanced at Bismarck and said to Qin Ji. Yes, Helena said before that Bismarck has the possibility of transformation, so I came here this time to let her and you know some details, and I also brought Shinano over. If possible, we will implement it as soon as possible. Qin Ji nodded. Road. Are you in such a hurry? I have a general understanding of the situation in the core waters of the Pacific. As long as the port area does not attack, there will basically be no counterattack by the Arbiter. The commander is now looking tidy. Why are you still so anxious? What? Replied with a smile. Although I say this, we have now conquered the core area, so I can't give up just like that. And not only our port area is very concerned about this matter, several high-level officials are preparing the next strategy plan day and night. Even the original camps in this world have begun to do their best to deploy the top forces in the camp to support the core area. Now the arrow is on the string and must be fired. Whether it is for the sake of this world or for the future of our port area, the repair time will not be too long, and the next step is the beginning of the war. So I want to take advantage of this opportunity to once again improve the top combat capabilities of our port area. Even if you are sharpening your weapon before the battle, even if it is not fast, it will still be very bright. Qin Ji said to everyone. Haha, I understand what Commander means, and I also know that you are not someone who just gives up when things go well. We also support repairing for a while before going to war. When the time comes, we can work together to end the testing ground in this world, which will also prove that our choice is correct. Right, counterattack said with a smile. Choose, Qin-Ji asked doubtfully. Ahem, that means we made the right decision to come to this world and choose to fight side by side with the commander, counterattack quickly explained. Qin-Ji smiled. The previous rhetorical question was intentional. Although he quickly explained in response, it still exposed something. But Qin-Ji didn't delve into anything. The most important thing now was to adjust the status of all personnel and then finish the battle beautifully. I am also very grateful that you can choose me and choose to help this world. I will definitely not betray your trust. Ha, counterattack smiled and touched the back of his head. I believe it too. Haha, I'm very sorry to disturb your communication, but Commander, we should get down to business, right? Helena changed the topic at the right time. Qin-Ji turned to look at Helena and nodded. I believe the commander already knows a lot about metamorphosis, and as for Bismarck, I believe Nizana also told you a lot of information, right? Fei Long looked at Bismarck and said. Yes, I know something about metazation, so when the commander told me about it, I agreed without hesitation, Bismarck said. Since Bismarck in other worlds can do this, then I will do something like this. I think so too. If you can't do it, no one in Minato City can do it. After all, if you want to complete such a transformation, you must have a firm will and the courage to win. To overcome the problems caused by meta-reaction, successfully activate the potential of the mental Rubik's Cube, and carry out systematic transformation. After all, it was a transformation that was not recorded in the mind cube, and it was no less difficult than rediscovering a path to improve strength. Although this road has been trodden by others, it is also the result of most people failing halfway. You are lucky today, because we already have relevant information, which means a certain guarantee for you. Although the probability of this guarantee may still be very low, it is at least much higher than that of those explorers. Fei Long said to Bismarck. So when will it start? What do I need to do? Bismarck did not hesitate or think too much. For her, since she has arrived here now, it means that she has made her decision. No matter what happens next, she has nothing to fear. You can start at any time. After all, the commander has prepared everything you need in advance. Helena smiled, but let's eat now. No matter how anxious you are, there is no need to rush at this moment, not to mention that the commander is busy. It's been a day and I just had a meal. Qin-Ji smiled and said, then let's eat first. Then Helena will tell us the specific process and what Bismarck needs to pay attention to. At the very least, we can ensure the smooth progress of this process. No problem, I also want to see if we can create a second completely different Bismarck using our research methods. Helena smiled. Qin-Ji was babbling. There were times when risks and benefits coexisted. Now that he knew this method, he couldn't remain indifferent. The same is true for Bismarck. It is precisely because the two people are so similar in nature that they are so closely united. Time gradually passed, and Bismarck's transformation finally began. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 968. The intelligence says that Iron Blood's latest battleship will enter the ocean through here. If you can give them a surprise here, they will definitely be commended by the Queen when they return. On the calm sea, Suffolk looked into the distance and said, Ugh, the latest warships and so on, are we really their opponent? Norfolk looked at Suffolk in front of him, his voice full of fear, and the sea water here is so cold, I feel like my whole body it's going to freeze. Why don't we return to Hong Kong quickly? Suffolk turned his head and smiled, don't worry, our mission is just reconnaissance. If a fight breaks out, it's a matter for the elder sisters. They are near us now and can provide support at any time. What's more, until now, except for the mist and ice floes, we can't even see flying animals. No matter what kind of new warship it is, everyone will be scared away when they hear their names. Puff puff puff. Why does it feel like a strange flag has been set? It would be great if it was really like this. I really want to go back to Hong Kong for dinner. Norfolk was talking when he suddenly noticed something unusual. Wait a minute. The radar seems to have detected strange movement in the sea ahead. What? Let me take a look. Suffolk quickly turned on his radar, and also discovered the anomaly ahead. We found an iron-blooded expulsion force ahead, maybe it's just a peripheral reconnaissance force. Report the situation to Sisterhood immediately. The antenna of the transmitter turned into, ice, popsicle. Norfolk whispered. Suffolk was stunned. No matter what, let's hold off their peripheral forces first. It's just a small group of mass-produced destroyers, no problem. Are you going to fight? Oh, the bad premonition turned out to be true. Norfolk said softly. Although he resisted such a situation, he had to fight now. For two ships, a small pair of mass-produced destroyers poses no threat. Although some shells exploded close to him, the damage caused was still minimal. In just a short while, the two of them eliminated the destroyer squad. Wow, Suffolk, we are so powerful, we defeated so many enemies in one go. Norfolk looked much more excited now than he was worried before the war started. Don't underestimate the enemy. These are obviously just hard-blooded troops, and I haven't seen their new warships so far. I have a bad feeling. Suffolk was not as excited as Norfolk now, but frowned. He frowned. Sure enough, at this moment, a charming voice came out from the fog. Hey, there is indeed an ambush on this route. Does the ominous premonition you are talking about refer to us? Attention, starboard direction. Two large warships were found heading 220 degrees. They are judged to be new iron-blooded battleships. Everyone is ready to fight, Suffolk said hurriedly in the communication. Ugh. Norfolk was a little stunned. Oops, it's just two cruisers, but they are actually preparing to attack. Let me enjoy it, the charming voice continued, but the artillery fire launched the attack mercilessly. At this moment, two figures emerged from the fog, and the person at the forefront said loudly, "These are not just two cruisers, the Royal Fleetwood and the Prince of Wales are facing the enemy. Let's have an elegant battle together." Suffolk was relieved when he saw the rescue coming. "Sister, you are finally here." Hood smiled and said, "You have done a good job, let's show the iron blood together. The target is the Bismarck, the first ship of the enemy fleet. Shoot together." The glory of the Royal Navy, the charming voice smiled, "That's what makes it interesting. Let's see if your strength can satisfy me." The sound of artillery fire suddenly became intensive. Whether it was the opponent's counterattack or the royal attack, the originally foggy sea was filled with the smoke of war. "The firepower is quite strong, but it's of no use to me." Charming's voice became heavier, and a bright shield rose from her body, but this bright shield, the shield also illuminates her true form. The keen Prince of Wales immediately discovered the anomaly. The entire ship immediately switched its target to the tail ship, and the tail ship is the Bismarck. Oops, I've been discovered. The figure in the fog has become clear. It is the iron-blooded heavy cruiser Prince Eugen. He is indeed King George V. "I'm sorry, I'm the Prince of Wales, but you got the wrong person," the Prince of Wales said coolly. "Oh no, never mind, Persian Ketchan, I've been carrying it for you for so long, it's time for you to show your strength." Prince Eugen waved his hand with a smile, turned back and said with a smile. A figure finally emerged from the fog, with a black military cap, golden hair, and a flag belonging to the Iron Blood in his hand. It was the Bismarck, the flagship of the Iron Blood. "Thank you for your hard work. It seems that this battle is unavoidable, Jot d'Ora." If Prince Eugen's counterattack before was sporadic, now her attack has turned into a violent storm. The Hipper-class heavy cruiser, as the backbone of the Iron Blood, showed her true strength in this encounter. Just when everyone in the royal family was shocked by Prince Eugen's counterattack, Bismarck held the flag and the naval gun on his body finally opened fire. And the target she is aiming at is the hood, which has been positioned for a long time. Amidst the cover of the artillery fire, a cannonball containing different powers flew across the sky and accurately landed on Hood's ship. Hood. The Prince of Wales, who was standing next to Hood, clearly witnessed this scene. He saw a cannonball explode on Hood's ship. The powerful explosion knocked this elegant lady directly to the sea. Ah, this unusual power is, as expected, you have also got involved. Hood fell on the sea, forced himself to look in the direction of Bismarck and said, "Have you been discovered, Eugen? Get out of the sea area immediately," Bismarck said calmly. "Eh? The battle situation is so favorable, why don't you continue playing?" Prince Eugen said with some surprise. "The secret weapon has been discovered. If it continues, the situation will be detrimental to our side. Follow the order and retreat immediately," Bismarck said. "Oops, there is really no way, the little sheep across the way, we will see you again in the future," Prince Eugen said frivolously. Why did you choose to betray the alliance, betray Azalaine?" Hood struggled to ask. "My glory is loyalty, only strong power can save more humans. We, just chose a different path. I don't expect to be understood by you, but there will be people who can learn from all this in the future. My old enemy, I hope we can meet in Valhalla in the future." Bismarck pinched the brim of his hat, looked back at Hood, and then disappeared into the mist with Prince Eugen. In a daze, the foggy sea surface seemed to change. The surrounding area became empty, and the sea surface disappeared. It seemed that she was supposed to be like this. The first period of memory infusion has ended, and the metamorphosis of the mental Rubik's Cube has begun to appear. Now the second period of memory infusion is started. Hold on. My cat. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 969. The sea was endless as far as the eye could see. Bismarck's eyes were staring directly at the sea, and the previous scene was constantly playing in her heart. Although it is not what she has experienced, but now, her perspective seems to be the one who has experienced everything. Has the grudge between Jagged and the royal family not been wiped out in this world? After this idea flashed in my mind, the situation in front of me seemed to be changing again. Darkness enveloped the sea, and she suddenly realized that she was no longer on the sea. Suddenly, a huge figure appeared in front of her. Although she had never seen that figure before, she had seen the same type of ship uniform several times. Coupled with the figure sitting on top of the ship's suit, a name flashed in her mind. Watcher. Her mouth moved, but not what she said, but what another she said. Why should we trust you? The observer sitting on the huge ship in front of him chuckled slightly, based on Iron Blood's current situation. Bismarck fell silent, but the voices of observers did not stop. According to the course of history, Iron Blood will soon be wiped out from this continent, and your opponents will enjoy the wine of victory in the homeland that originally belonged to you. What a humiliating scene it is. Think about your comrades in arms, think about your sister who has not yet served. Do you still want to taste the humiliation of Section 11 again? Shut up, Bismarck shouted angrily. How can the inheritance of thousands of years of Iron Blood be extinguished because of one or two failures? I will lead my comrades and people to glory again, and drive you back to the dark seabed completely. The observer chuckled lightly, turning a deaf ear to Bismarck's anger. There is a proverb in human beings, people are like trees. The more they yearn for the sunshine at high places, the more their roots will stretch into the dark underground. Don't you yearn for the sunrise? It's useless to talk, Führer, Bismarck said, thinking of the observers in front of her. Her ship uniform spurted out flames. But the cannonball did not hit the observer as she expected. Instead, it stopped relatively close to the observer. Observing the approaching cannonball, he gently reached out and tapped it, and the warhead of the cannonball fell into the sea. Such weak weapons cannot bring a future to the nation. Think about it carefully. What interests do you have that we should covet? Technology, wealth, or the ocean? You have nothing. Observing the contemptuous tone, Bismarck was in a daze and couldn't say a word for a while. The royal fleet is several times more powerful than you, and has even blocked the ocean that originally belonged to you. Your opponent is not me, but them who are separated by the sea. Compared with those stupid barbarians, I believe you understand the importance of the overall situation better. I give you the key to the future, which can bring you destruction as well as hope. As for whether you want to become a victim of science or become a residue under the giant wheel, it depends on your own choice. We will meet again. As the observer said, the ship suit she was sitting on suddenly opened her mouth, and a Rubik's Cube emitting black-red light gradually floated out of the mouth and landed in front of Bismarck. Looking at the observers who were about to leave, Bismarck was stunned. The gap is too big, and there is not even any bargaining chip on the agreement table? Prime Minister, if it were you, how would you choose? How should I choose? As if this thought was responded to, Bismarck stretched out his hand to stop the observer who was about to turn around. Wait a moment. The observer turned sideways again and looked at Bismarck, who looked eager. Huh? Do you have any more questions, Bismarck? I want to know, among the countless possibilities you have observed, whether there is. As soon as Bismarck said this, he was ruthlessly interrupted by the observer. Not really. Although he already had an answer in his mind, Bismarck was still stunned when he heard the observer's answer. In the long history that stretches for thousands of years, you as an individual are just a drop in the ocean, so small that you don't even have the right to choose your own destiny. From birth to death, I never had it. Whether you survive that critical battle or not, the direction of the times will not change. The observer chuckled. At this moment, Bismarck shook his head. No. You are wrong. What I want to know is not about my fate, but about my nation, my people, my colleagues, my sister, their future. Is there any possibility of redemption? The observer narrowed his eyes, was silent for a moment, and then laughed. Ha ha, you are really an interesting sample. You can actually achieve a conversation beyond our predictions. If you want to wear the crown, you must bear its weight. It seems that you have understood. I understand the meaning. Bismarck's face showed a resolute face. She looked at the observer in front of her. To truly experience life, you must stand on top of life. Our individual lives die when we are born, and are replaced by something called iron-blooded body of steel. Iron-blooded will eventually be above all else. In that case, then go ahead and use your small and humble life to influence the world, turn the gears of stagnant time, let the sea waves roll for you, and let the wind and cloud change color for you. By then, your small life will have made you successful, you will have found another self, and then you will be able to find the answer. But the premise is that at that time, you can recognize another self. Ha 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 ha. The observer laughed as he spoke, and then disappeared in front of Bismarck. Just before Bismarck came back to his senses, the sea and the rotating black magic weapon in front of him had disappeared, replaced by a place like a podium. Flags were fluttering in front of them, and the iron-blooded ship girls were separated on the left and right, while below were rows of iron-blooded soldiers. They were all silent and looked towards the podium. Gentlemen, Ironblood must accumulate his own strength and hold it in his hands in order to take advantage of the opportunity. However, this opportunity has been missed several times. Failure is only the final test of tenacity, truth is only within the range of the cannon. For those who persevere, there is no such thing as failure. Our living space should not be achieved by begging and protesting, but by iron and blood. This is exactly the mistake we made. Iron-blooded people have no other way to go but struggle. Eisen und Blut über alles. Eisen und Blut über alles. Eisen und Blut über alles. Looking at the passionate shouts from the audience, Bismarck felt something hatching in his heart. Eisen und Blut über alles is iron and blood above all else? Perhaps it was once so, but what I have now is what you have dreamed of. However, I will not stop, such beauty is worth defending at all costs. Including, Iron and Blood. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 970. I don't know how many times the picture dimmed and became clear again. It seemed that I had returned to the previous sea area. The fog shrouding the sea area had disappeared, and what appeared in front of me now was an endless pursuit. This is an ultimatum, Bismarck. A bright red figure stood not far away. Her serious words gave people a sense of calmness and self-reliance. She was also very familiar with that figure, the Royal King George V. In the name of the Queen, please immediately disarm, return to the royal family with us, and accept the due trial. Is this the way the royal fleet does things? Your Majesty the Sailor King, Bismarck had no expression on his face, looking at King George V in the distance. Facing an enemy with a blood feud, you have to suppress your fighting instinct and fiddle with it? Such hypocritical diplomatic rhetoric. As cutting-edge battleships, you are actually looking forward to a real battle in your heart, right? King George V suddenly laughed, ha ha ha, what a nostalgic title. It is the duty of every member of the royal family to follow the noble tradition of the royal fleet. The Queen will show mercy to those who have found their way back, and will also grant destruction to your enemies. So I ask one last time. Before she finished speaking, she was greeted by the sound of Bismarck firing. Boom! The cannonball landed next to King George V, sending a spray of water into the sky. Just when everyone in the royal family was anxiously asking questions, the voice of King George V appeared on the communicator, "Near miss, don't worry, the enemy ships are resisting." But it seems the answer is very clear. The entire fleet can fire freely. For the glory of the royal fleet, fire! Fierce shelling sounded on the sea. Even in the face of the siege of the royal family, Bismarck did not lose at this moment. Tusk, it's really hard armor, the 14-inch main gun is actually hard to penetrate. Even King George V couldn't help but be stunned when he saw his own main gun shells bounced away when they hit the Bismarck ship. In terms of understanding of steel, iron-blooded people are better than the royal family, Bismarck's words showed no trace of pride. But at this moment, a round of fire fell on the right side of Bismarck's ship. The ship soon left traces of being burned. Although it did not cause much damage, compared with the previous attack, Bismarck's the threat is greater. A shelling from the starboard side, Bismarck turned to look, could this firepower be? Sure enough, in the distance on the right, several figures gradually became clear, led by a beauty wearing a white and blue ship uniform. The royal fleet must fight every enemy. Bet on the name of Big 7. Aim the 16-inch main gun and fire. Facing the menacing attack, Bismarck remained calm at the moment, constantly dodging and fighting back on the sea, and her heart was dancing with excitement. This is what the iron-blooded battleship is looking forward to, a once-in-a-lifetime battle. But even if it is as strong as Bismarck, under the artillery siege of the royal people, although it is indistinguishable in a short period of time, over time, it will eventually fall into decline. Damn it, the Dora turret was destroyed. Has the battle become passive? Just when Bismarck's expression became anxious, the royal camp detected shelling from below the sea. A figure rushed out of the sea. Although the huge ship was not as large as the observer, Bismarck had indeed seen this figure many times. Tester. Okay, Everyone in the royal fleet, if we continue to fight like this, if the test sample is damaged like this, it will cause us a lot of trouble." The tester smiled at the royal people. Siren. He actually appeared at this critical moment. King George V looked stern. "Royal fleet, reorganize your formation and prepare to meet the enemy." However, the tester was not comparable to Bismarck. The artillery fire from the royal family had no effect on her, and when attacking the tester, the royal family did not forget to continue to suppress Bismarck. "Ms. Bismarck, don't you plan to use that even in this situation?" The tester turned around to ask Bismarck while avoiding the royal cannonballs. "You don't need to intervene here," Bismarck said expressionlessly. "Even at the last moment, I was still insisting. It only takes a little determination to send these enemies to the bottom of the sea." The tester laughed. "After I fought with Hood, I understood that that unfair duel would not bring us any glory. Ignorant, I peered into the abyss, only to find that the abyss was staring back at me. That black Rubik's Cube is eating away at my mind. It keeps playing loud music in my mind. It makes me become extreme and crazy. I asked Eugen to leave early because I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I knew it was time to end it all." Bismarck looked at the tester coldly. The tester's smile turned cold. "Report record, test number 151 ended, test result, negative, non-critical point, request for instructions. Understanding the situation, it is recommended to implement the recycling agreement." But at this moment, the roar of artillery fire sounded, and Bismarck used the last main gun to fire at the tester who was sending the signal. "My glory is loyalty. What I am loyal to is not weapons, but a nation made of iron and blood," Bismarck said solemnly. The tester was stunned for a moment. "Request, modify test result number 151. The test target is firing at this machine. Has the change finally happened? Very good, please try to execute the awakening process next." "Understood." According to the agreement, there are uncontrollable targets in the area. "Priority is given to ensuring the independence of the target," the tester answered, looking at the target towards the royal family. A more intense battle began to unfold. Although the sea surface was already very lively before, it was now even more competitive than before. At some point, more mass-produced siren fleets appeared around, and they kept firing in the direction of the royal fleet. Everyone in the royal family resisted bravely, and no one had the idea of escape at this time. "Haha, children of the royal family, the way you swarm forward is not elegant at all, and it doesn't even have any tactics," the tester said while fighting back the attack from the royal family. "Tisk, the situation seems a bit abnormal. The heat of all units is beyond the normal range. Is it affected by the activated Rubik's Cube? Terminal, do you see what's going on here? Request to conduct activation test of UN Rubik's Cube." However, the communication from the terminal was not transmitted, and the noisy sound of electricity sounded in the communicator. This made the tester frown. Is the signal blocked? In any case, this is a rare and good opportunity, if more data about the UN Rubik's Cube can be collected. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 971. The Siren's movements have slowed down. Don't miss this opportunity and attack with all your strength. The keen King George V noticed the tester's laxity and ordered the royal fleet to attack heroically. But this kind of attack just suits the tester's wishes. Very good, the energy level is still rising, come on, vent your anger to your heart's content. The royal fleet continued to attack Bismarck with heat, artillery shells, and torpedoes. The water column of the machine rose into the sky. The scattered water column met again. After a huge energy flow, it was instantly evaporated into water vapor, and the entire battlefield was gradually transformed into water vapor. Shrouded in white mist. Unknown weather suddenly appeared in the surrounding area. This white fog not only affected the optical images, but also the field of view of the carrier-based aircraft. The Bismarck is currently unable to be observed, Royal Ark report reported. The tester also looked in the direction of Bismarck. The history of human evolution and development is the history of technology and learning. For the sake of learning, all sacrifices are worth it. Not far away, King George V suddenly felt a sense of depression. Is it possible that this ominous premonition? Without any time to think, she immediately ordered over the communicator, "Everyone, evacuate immediately." Boom. A strong beam of light penetrated the water mist and carved out a huge airflow tunnel. The huge beam of light instantly penetrated the armored area of George V, leaving a huge cave. King George V's eyes were cold, and he looked coldly towards the direction of the beam. Bismarck, after all, you still, pay attention to everyone, stay on level 1 combat alert. After the fog dissipated, Bismarck gradually appeared in everyone's field of vision, surrounded by a black and red light, exuding an ominous aura, and the tester had long since disappeared. A great man once said that there is no God in this world. If there is, how can I bear that I am not that God? So, there is no God in this world. Bismarck looked at the royal people, and there was a burst of madness in his eyes. Have you finally revealed your prototype? The iron-blooded battleship. King George V's eyes were cold. For a moment, I thought you had a little bit of the glory that belongs to a warrior. It seems that I am just overly concerned. Royal Fleet, you have never been afraid of failure and death, but you gave up your dignity as a battleship in the end. Whether you call yourself suspicious or the Sun, we will completely defeat you and your conspiracy. The battle between the two sides became more intense. The mass-produced siren summoned by the tester seemed to have become a foil at this moment. This was a fateful duel, and it was also a duel of awakening. Finally, we are at a distance where we can face each other. You used this weapon to defeat Hood at that time. I was right at this distance, Bismarck. The figure of King George V stopped not far away from Bismarck. Come down. Although he wanted to say something, but couldn't, Bismarck chose to remain silent. Then we will defeat you at this distance and defeat you, this fanatic believer who has lost his glory. Glory? The royal fleet must fight whenever it encounters an enemy. Fire! King George V's order interrupted Bismarck's words, and fierce artillery fire came, making her resistance look so weak. At this moment, the black aura around Bismarck became even stronger, causing her to scream. As the huge beam of light converged, countless siren ships were sucked into it and crushed into powder. This scene left everyone in the royal family stunned, but a more dangerous situation emerged. Be careful, Bismarck is aiming at the center of the fleet, Royal Ark said anxiously. There is no way to escape, all personnel are prepared to deal with the second impact, King George V immediately judged. Boom. As a bang came, no one in the royal family was harmed at all. Just when King George V was confused, he discovered that after the energy gathered around Bismarck, a huge explosion interrupted everything, and also destroyed most of Bismarck's ship. This is this, your limit? With a trace of struggle, Bismarck raised his head and said into the distance. The tester who had disappeared reappeared. She looked at Bismarck and said, he actually destroyed his own main gun. Well, sure enough, he still couldn't perfectly integrate with the Rubik's Cube. I didn't expect, even the will that I thought was strong enough, would be completely eroded by this power for a moment, Bismarck said with some fear, but more of a free and easy attitude. Report record, test result number 151, this is the influence of the UN Rubik's Cube when the target actively leaves the activation state. It can be preliminarily presumed that it has the potential to become a key point, but the overall performance does not reach the target's tolerance limit. The tester loyally said recorded. Siren, I don't know what your plans are, but this honor cannot be tarnished by you. After Bismarck finished speaking, he turned his attention to the royal side. Soldiers of the royal fleet, although we have had grievances for many years, but it is a pity that I cannot be defeated by you like this. The iron-blooded fate will be determined by myself. Eisen und Blut über alles. Bismarck's last main gun fired the last shell in the direction of the Royal Fleet. Since the ranging equipment had been completely destroyed, the shell deviated from the track and exploded into a splash in the distance. You can't aim normally anymore, but you still choose to fight back. Why are you so persistent? Shengli looked at Bismarck not far away and murmured. But King George V was no longer as cold as before. Her expression was serious. I take back my previous opinion of you. If this is your last choice, we will send you away with artillery fire. All members of the Royal Fleet concentrate their final firepower on Bismarck. Boom. As the last shell fell, the place where Bismarck stood became a sea of fire. She held the iron-blooded flag tightly in her hands, which had become more and more broken in the battle, but even in the face of such powerful artillery fire, she still stood and refused to fall. Still unable to achieve our long-cherished wish, a majestic navy that can return to the ocean. Iron discipline, and the glory of blood, at least in the end the iron-blooded battleship can still choose to face its own destiny. You once said that music can always evoke two completely different lessons in people's hearts, one is war, the other is pastoral tranquility. That's it, I can finally feel the peaceful side. Sorry, my sister, I still look forward to walking side by side with you in the end. These thoughts, like words whispered in the ears, were quietly transmitted to Bismarck's heart. She watched everything calmly from beginning to end, feeling the sadness and persistence she had never had before. It's really, really amazing. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 972. Qin Ji frowned as he looked at Bismarck, whose black ominous aura was constantly flowing out of the ship's modification device. What's the situation now? Helena turned her head next to the operating instrument. Commander, the erosion of metamorphosis is still continuing, but Miss Bismarck's mind has not been seriously affected, and she is closer to the possibility of ship modification. Helena of Ember smiled slightly. Haha, Commander, don't be anxious. This situation is much smoother than we imagined. It seems that the method of injecting memory with the help of Shinano's dream is feasible. While simulating the current environment, the mind of the person concerned can be maintained so that the metamorphosis process can be carried out without being affected. But thanks to the fact that Bismarck was the first to do it, maybe if it had been anyone else, it might not have been as smooth as it is now. So the current situation is still within control? Qin Ji asked in relief. Yes, Helena said. So, after the ship modification is completed, will the erosion of metamorphosis accompany her? Qin Ji looked at Helena seriously, wanting to see something in her eyes. Yes, Helena said without any hesitation, looking at Qin Ji. So is the commander worried? Or is he preparing to terminate this process? Metazation is reversible, so it can't be reversed. Qin Ji's heart sank. Although he had known this before, the true situation he learned still made it difficult for him to make a decision. Metazation is indeed reversible, but if it is reversed, then this ship modification will be in vain. This is a trade-off. Helena looked at Qin Ji and smiled. Hiss. Qin Ji's eyes were full of helplessness, looking at Bismarck, who was in a dream not far away, exuding an ominous aura. Then there is no way to limit this erosion. Yes, Helena replied without hesitation, this is also an opportunity for Bismarck's ship modification. What method? Qin Ji asked hurriedly. Commander, have you noticed that the iron-blooded ships have developed in a discontinuous manner? Take Bismarck, Frederick, and Hütten as examples. Bismarck's shipbuilding structure is more inclined to be a battleship, while Frederick's and Hutton's the structure of the ship's equipment has developed self-awareness and become an active ship's equipment. Helena asked. Qin Ji narrowed his eyes. So what do you mean? Bismarck's ship modification this time is to convert the battleship-like ship into an active ship? So what does this have to do with metaification? No, it's not just an active ship suit, it's something that goes further than an active ship suit. Helena shook her head. Otherwise, what's the purpose of the meta transformation? Qin was stunned. So, what will be the result then? As long as we continue at the current pace, the results will soon be clear. Moreover, the connection between the ship girl and the ship outfit can be transferred to each other. As long as we successfully transform the Bismarck's ship outfit, then the erosion of metazation you can completely use ship equipment to bear it. As long as the frequency of normal battles is not so high, meta erosion can be controlled within a controllable range, and even if the erosion is serious, we can completely reduce the erosion rate by reversing it. So this is equivalent to injecting a toxin into Bismarck's body, and this toxin will give her great power. However, as the power is used, the erosion of the toxins will deepen, and in the end it is easy to achieve sudden death. But as long as we remove the toxins when they accumulate to a certain level and bring them back to a certain level, then this power is controllable. Helena said. Qin was speechless. This is dancing on the tip of a knife, and have you ever thought about what if this toxin becomes resistant? If meta-erosion removal continues to accelerate as the number of times increases, and in the end the removal work has to be carried out every day, wouldn't it be equivalent to Bismarck being abolished? Haha, Commander doesn't need to worry about this. Although the drug resistance you mentioned is very likely to occur, our technology is also constantly developing. The research on the mind cube and metaization are also in depth. It is possible that Bismarck needed to stay in this situation for a while, but this situation was not her end. As long as we have enough materials and enough experimental data, we will eventually control the metamorphosis and make her more powerful. Moreover, Bismarck's situation is not unique. There are still many ships that have not activated their ship equipment, including the Northern Alliance and other camps. We still have a long road ahead, and this is far from our end, and this situation will also prompt us to continue to study and expand. What do you think? Helena smiled. Qin thought for a while and nodded. Okay, you have successfully convinced me, then the next work on metaship modification will be left to you. I know that new technology has a certain price, but I hope that this price can be controlled to a minimum. Bismarck made this choice after listening to my words and making a judgment. I need to be responsible for her, and I also need to be responsible for those who carry out the metaship activation transformation in the future. Although we pursue power, we must not lose our eyes to power. Haha, Commander is indeed wise. You will definitely be amazed by your decision today. We need to make progress. Solving everything is far from our end. Helena smiled and raised her head. From the beginning to the end, everything happens in this world and on this planet. If one day we can jump out of this planet and go to a more distant star sea, maybe we will need more powerful power. Everything today is the basis for tomorrow, and your decision will also change our future direction. Qin smiled and said, Zingai. Maybe by that time, I will already be gray-haired. Such things are too far away and are not our direction for the time being. Our main purpose now is to solve the problems in this world. Although sometimes we need a long-term vision, we still need to move forward step by step in a down-to-earth manner. Therefore, let's carry out the construction and transformation of Bismarck first. This is our top priority. Understood. Helena nodded and continued her observation of Bismarck. The fourth memory has been instilled. Shinano raised his head and said to Helena at this time. Very good, Helena. How high has the erosion level been? Ember. Helena looked at Helena at the other side of the console and said. It's almost reaching the limit value. Helena replied quickly. Well, the Bismarck ship modification is ready to begin. Yes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 973. Not knowing how many fragments of memories he had experienced, Bismarck's eyes became dim. At some point, she suddenly felt that she could move, and this kind of action was not like watching others act in her consciousness before, but she seemed to have changed back to herself. Just when she was a little surprised, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. And that figure was like looking into a mirror, no different from himself. What you saw before is what I experienced. I hope this memory and this feeling can help you. Listening to the words of the figure in front of him, Bismarck immediately realized something. Are you an image, or a consciousness that can communicate? I know what you are thinking. Don't worry, I can communicate consciousness. It's just that I used the dreams of Ember, the others, and your Shinano to connect to your dream. The Bismarck smiled. Originally I didn't have to show up, but I always felt it was a meaningful thing, so I showed up. Bismarck nodded. I see, so what do you want to tell me when you show up here? I can actually feel the thoughts you expressed when you were feeling my past, because this is an exchange of consciousness. Yi Yan and the others may not have told you about this in advance, so I will tell you here first. Apologize. The Bismarck apologized. It doesn't matter. In fact, I also discovered it, Bismarck said, coexisting in one consciousness, feeling the past you, your thoughts, and everything about you are all connected to my mind. At that time, our information was shared, yes, but you can't peek into my memory, you can only read my thoughts. That's right. What should I say about your thoughts afterwards? The Bismarck smiled. You are lucky to be summoned by your own commander, and he can accompany you and support you all the way. And even more fortunately, you have more than just iron-blooded companions, whether they are Vichy Holy See, Sardinian Empire, Chongqing, Royal, White Eagle, Donghuang, Northern United, Vichy Holy See, or Ember, you are all united under the command of one man. There will be no disputes or disagreements among everyone. This is something I once dreamed of, and it is really enviable. If that's the case, maybe our experiences are mutually enviable. You do it for Iron Blood, and I do it for our port area. In fact, they are fundamentally the same, Bismarck said. Yes, please don't laugh when you suddenly feel something when facing another self, the Bismarck said, and the current transformation should be nearing the end, right? I hope you can make good use of this power, and I look forward to the day when we can meet. When the time comes, I will have wine and music ready, and you have to introduce me to the person who brought you to where you are now. Following Bismarck's words, Bismarck felt that the power contained in his body was rising sharply, and his consciousness gradually became clearer. On the contrary, Bismarck on the opposite side gradually began to blur. If there is such a day, I believe we will become very good friends, another me, Bismarck said. I will definitely do it. Go and accept your future. After finishing speaking, Bismarck only felt his face twisting, and finally the anxious and familiar face gradually came into view. Commander, I'm back. Commander, why have you been looking at me like that since just now? On the way back to the dormitory, the sky had darkened. Bismarck looked at Qin Ji, who looked at him from time to time, and said with a slightly red face. His usual coolness turned out to be a little awkward at this time, and Bismarck's appearance made Qin Ji even more bold. It feels very different from before. Not only the appearance, but also the difference in temperament. If it was more about majesty before, now I feel that I can see a trace of it in your majesty. Gentle, I wonder if it's my imagination, Qin Ji looked at Bismarck and said. Bismarck smiled, Commander, your observations are too detailed. Can you see such a change? I don't feel anything at all. I just feel that my power is stronger than before. Although I have paid a small price, but these costs are currently within our control, which is a good thing. Qin Ji touched his nose and said, although after coming to the port area, your main responsibility is to understand the situation there and rarely return to the port area, but don't forget to stay with me, but it has been 2 or 3 years. During these times, we worked together, fought together, and lived together, and more importantly, you are my wedding ship. How could I not notice any changes in you? Moreover, I want to say sorry to you. It is my fault that you are now beginning to suffer the invasion of metamorphosis for the sake of the final battle. I don't ask for your forgiveness or anything, I just hope that we can restore you when the time comes after we complete these things. Bismarck shook his head and looked up at the dormitory building with some shining lights in front of him. Commander, you are overthinking it, but I have never blamed you for this matter. As you said, we have been fighting, working and living together for so long. I believe you know me well. Originally, the revival of Iron Blood should be my lifelong obsession, just like what I saw in my dream. But now everyone is in the same port area, striving for a common goal. The fateful battle between Royal and Iron Blood seems to be no longer important. Just like Eugen and Wales often drink together, Hu Teng also has a good relationship with Plymouth. Others are like that too, so why isn't this a kind of salvation? In that dream, I saw a lot. If there was no commander, if I was born in that world, maybe my choice would be the same as that of Bismarck. For me, this kind of life is too beautiful, so beautiful that it is worth using everything to protect it. So whether it's for a decisive battle or for protection, I hope to gain such powerful power. Because now I can at least work with my colleagues in the port area and the commander to realize our dreams together. Seeing Bismarck's look, Qin Ji couldn't help but hold her hand. In turn, you comforted me. I am really incompetent as a commander. Haha, if you are not competent, then there will be no competent commander. Bismarck smiled. Hey, commander, it's still early now. If you can, would you accompany me for a walk on the beach over there? Qin Ji smiled and nodded. Of course, it's no problem. We haven't been alone together like this for a long time. I have a lot to say to you. Me too. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 974. It was another clear and clear day. After a week of hurricanes, the whole sky seemed to have been cleansed, and it was as blue as crystal. At the port area, several figures stood here. Originally I wanted to keep you for a while longer, but as you all know about the recent situation, some changes have taken place in the core waters of the Pacific, and we need to make a decision as soon as possible, Qin Ji said with an apology on his face. Several people said, Commander, it's okay. We have been preparing for this battle since the beginning of the year, and now it has finally come to this moment, this time when we decide to work together, so don't say sorry, we will definitely work hard. York City smiled. That's right, and it's rare to have such a period of time to breathe before a war, and we can return to the port area to increase our strength and make ourselves more effective in this war. We are also very happy, Bumblebee said with a smile. Several other people couldn't help but nodded. They understood the necessary battle, and no one was confused or puzzled by Qin Ji's sudden request for them to return to their fighting positions. It's great to have you, Qin Ji said with a smile, and then looked at Bismarck at the front of the crowd. Bismarck, we have already communicated the corresponding rules and planning in detail, and we need to follow this strategy next. Go and execute it. This time, you, as the operational flagship in Hawaii, will control and implement the next plan, so I have to trouble you to make a trip. This is my honor. I have stayed in the experimental site for so long and have received new powers. It's time to show off my power. Don't worry, Commander, I will implement the strategy according to some details and specific arrangements we discussed before. Just like you said, when we meet up, the decisive battle will begin. Bismarck smiled. Qin Ji nodded. As for White Eagle, Chongqing, and the Sardinian Empire, I have already given them greetings, so there is no need to worry about anything. Just do everything you can to conquer the core sea area. As for the other supporting camps, you must also make good use of their strength to achieve coordinated operations. This time, you must completely clear the entire Pacific Ocean. Understood, Bismarck nodded. As for Ember's assistance, I leave it to you. Filong Qingji looked at the Ember team on the other side and said, led by Filong. Don't worry, I am a warrior to begin with. The period of time I spent in the port area was the most leisurely period of time I have had since that incident. Although I really want to continue living like this, the fate of a warrior still belongs to it on the battlefield, so I will work hard this time. Let's end this war together. Filong smiled. Haha, I don't know if this is a good thing to say, but you still look very handsome when you smile. Please smile more in the future, Qin Ji said with a smile. Ah, Filong was stunned for a moment, and then the corners of his mouth curved a little. Let's talk about it later. Seeing the smile on Filong's lips, Qin Ji smiled and said, that's it? I hope you go this time. When we meet again next time, you won't have to worry about this ocean anymore. Yes, Commander, everyone said in response. When everyone turned around and walked towards the ship, Bismarck stopped for a moment and then looked at Qin Ji. Commander, if you can, it's better not to go to the front line. If you really want to go to the front line, take Helena of Ember with you. It's not that I'm worried about other companions in the port area, but compared to us, Ember and the others have the power to protect your safety. Qin Ji smiled and said, don't worry. Hundreds of people are concerned about me. I won't joke with my life. And after all, I can be considered a veteran who has experienced the battlefield. Where should I go and where shouldn't I go, I still understand in my heart. But I will pay attention when the time comes. For you, I take my life very seriously. That's good, Bismarck smiled. Then let's set off. Just as we discussed before, when the commander decides to attack, he will inform Frederick that all matters at the experimental site are currently left to her. Dealt with it? Well, you've said it many times, don't worry, I remember all these things, Qin Ji said with a smile. Commander is so wise. I know I am a little overworried, but I don't know why I feel like this. Bismarck said a little nervously. Qin Ji took a step forward, reached out, and held her hand. Don't be confused, we all grew up under this emotion, and this emotion is called love. Therefore, not only you, but also me are affected by this emotion. Promise me that in the subsequent battles, you will try your best to protect yourself and your companions around you. No matter how much he talks, there will eventually be a moment of separation. Seeing several command ships slowly sailing out of the port, Qin Ji's eyes couldn't help but become blurred. Commander? We should go back. Royal Oak, the secretary's ship, said. Qin Ji nodded. Well, it's time to go back and do your own things well. Fortress in the core area deep in the Pacific Ocean. A gray figure that had not been seen for a long time appeared at the entrance of the fortress, and there were several unusual figures following her. So this is the core area of antiques in this world, the men among the figures said with a smile. Yes, sir, the gray figure said with great respect. It's really special. I have never seen the fortress in the core area of antiques up close before. Maybe this is the first time, the man said with a smile. Hee, dear, if you want, you can build another siren fortress next to our floating island in the sky, right? Then we can visit it at any time in the future. A man dressed in crimson, the woman in the sexy kimono, said. Will that be a bit troublesome? Although the observers in our previous world are all in the port area, this may consume a lot of time, right? The man asked doubtfully. It doesn't matter. We are idle anyway. In addition to traveling through various worlds, we can also find some fun things in that world. Then after this matter is completed, you will be responsible for Akaga City, the male said with a smile, with a doting look on his face. Leave it to me, my dear. While a few people were chatting, they unknowingly arrived at the door of the fortress hall, and a gray figure opened the door of the hall. Then I saw that people from the experimental agency and the arbitration agency had already stood behind the Dreamweaver, and everyone looked like the man behind the gray figure. "Sir, welcome to this world.